We are starting a new series. We're going to be for 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about this idea of how to follow. And hey, following is really easy, right? Follow the leader. Simon says things like that. Just do what has been said. But when we're looking at who we're going to follow or what we're going to follow, we are looking at is this thing worth it? We're looking at, is it worth what I'm about to do? Because there's this, hey, if there's 18 steps to this, I may not want to do it, unless the reward is kind of a big thing, right? If it's, a simple thing. My college roommate, we'd go to baseball games, and he would sign up for credit cards. Again, we had $7 to our names at the time. You check your bank account before you went to, to Pizza Hut to make sure you could make that, transaction without it, just getting you a fee or whatever. So he didn't have any sort of money, but he knew I can get a free blanket from this stadium just by filling out their application. I don't give my real name or anything like that. It's hey, a simple step, you get a free fleece blanket. He did it all the time, right? And it was an easy thing, get a free blanket. But if it was hey, you have to sit through this timeshare of a presentation for an hour and a half to get a fleece blanket, probably not worth it, right? And so we make these decisions based on, hey, is this thing worth it, right? Is this worth what I'm going to do? And we look at what that is, and am I willing to do it? And that will determine if I make this choice or not. Right? If it takes a lot, I'm not going to do it. If it's simple, I'm going to do it. Is the benefit worth the cost? And it's no different when we talk about following Christ, right? Everyone is making this choice of, do I want to follow him? Or is the benefit of following him worth what it's going to cost me? Right? A lot of people like this idea, or at least the benefits of following Jesus, right? Yeah, it'd be great to follow him. It's I'm walking with my Savior. God made me and knows me. I can pray to him. I can talk to him. I can ask him for things in my life. Those sounds like really good things. But the question becomes, yeah, that's what I want, but am I willing to do what it costs to follow him? And then that brings us to this question of, what does it really take to follow Jesus? Because that's how we make this choice. We look at, what does it really cost me? All right, what does it really cost me to be a follower of Jesus? Is this something that I really want to do? Because I'm going to look at, with everything in my life, is what I get worth the cost? And so as someone who is here, I am going to assume you at least have an interest of some sort in spiritual things, following God, whatever that is. You're here and you at least have a thought about it. And the question that you need to be answering in your own life is, when I look at God, when I look at what he offers me, am I willing to do what he asked me to do to follow him? All right? And so when we ask, what does it really take to follow him? First, we have to ask, what does it mean to follow? Right? What does it really mean to follow somebody? Matthew chapter 4, we see where Jesus does this kind of crazy thing. He's walking by the side of a huge lake, a sea, right? And he comes upon some guys that are just fishing. They don't know him at all. And he just says, hey, follow me. Kind of creepy. I think we've talked about this before. If you're at your job, say you're working at Deerberg's, and a guy walks by and says, hey, follow me, and walks around the back of the store, don't go, okay? Right? It's just kind of an odd thing, right? But what he's walking up to them and saying, right, this phrase of follow me, we see all throughout biblical times. It was a phrase that the rabbis would use it and would say, hey, I am going to this person who wants to be basically like an intern of mine, who wants to become what I am. And this is the invitation to them to be my intern, right? That's basically a very brief summation of that. But in Matthew chapter 4, we see this where Jesus walks up in verse 19, and he says this, right? So we'll start in 18, right? While walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who's called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Right? And in verse 20, they immediately left everything and followed him. And so we need to understand what this term follow me means, right? It's an invitation to come and learn from me, right? Come and do what I do. Walk where I walk. It is literally this walk in my footsteps. My kids, when they were a couple of years younger, we would be out in the snow, and we get 4 or 5 inches. It's kind of hard to walk in if you're 3 or 4. So what they would do is I would walk ahead, going up the hill, and they would just step in my footprints because it's a lot easier, right? It's this idea of like, put your feet where my feet have gone. And in order to do that, you have to be close to someone. It's this idea of like, go exactly where I go, walk exactly where I walk, live the life that I am living. So it's an invitation to do this. But more than that, it's become who I am. Right? You are wanting to be my intern, or you're wanting to be like someone who is making your life much like mine is. That's why you're choosing to follow me, to do all this, to where you're with me and spending life with me and learning everything about what I'm doing because you want to become like me. So that's part of this invitation as well. There's also this idea of like align your life with mine. Now, if it's, hey, like Nathaniel really wants to do exactly what Del Carter does. You want to be a floor salesman. Like, okay, yeah, it's easy to align. But like Jesus is this like rabbi who walks by and says to some fishermen, hey, come follow me. And in their mind, they're thinking, I'm a fisherman. I don't do what you do. Right? But it's a complete shift of their life. He's saying, hey, your life, the way you're living it, needs to be shifted to align with me. And he's also saying, aim at what I'm aiming at. Make the goal of your life what the goal of my life is, right? To glorify God. So it's this massive invitation that he's giving to them, and there's so much wrapped up in it, right? He's saying, make your life a reflection of mine. Follow me to where people don't see a difference between me and you. Right? That you're walking so close to me that they just say, hey, that's the person that's following Jesus. Not like, hey, I'm going to check in every now and then if he's in the region. I'm going to go where he goes, do what he does. So it's this big, big invitation. It's not just, hey, you kind of like what I'm about. All right? Think of these guys who were there, they had their jobs, and they left everything to follow him. They looked at this and said, okay, the benefit of following him is greater than the cost, and the cost is huge. The cost changes everything in my life. It changes the complete direction of my life. It changes what I'm about. It changes what I do for a living. It changes everything about me. Following Jesus is not an easy thing. It's not just like, I guess I'll do this. It's a massive choice and a response to a huge invitation to completely change your life. And so then we look at, okay, well, that's a lot, right? But the benefit is a relationship with your Creator, right? You were made by him for a purpose, and within this relationship of following him, you fulfill that purpose and live that out. Your life has meaning. Like, it's a massive benefit there. That you live the life you were made to live, that you will be fulfilled in that. Have you ever done something that you know is not going to turn out well, but you have to do it anyway? It's the worst because you know that you're not going to fulfill it. But if you know that it's going to go well, there's joy in doing it. And so as someone who is living a life that is following Christ, you have a joy because you know, I will be successful. I will be fulfilled in what I'm doing. Life might not always be good. Life might not always be what I want it to be, but I will have the fulfillment that I'm living out the purpose for my life from this moment until I take my very last breath. I'm living the purpose for my life. And then when I take that breath, I'm with him forever and enjoying his presence. It's a huge benefit. Right? And I think we really want that. I think even if you're here and you say, man, I'm not really sure if I want to follow God or not, that should be a big, exciting thing to you, that you know the purpose of your life and you know the one that made you, and he wants a relationship with you to help you fulfill that in your life and to live the life you were made to live. We all want to do that. But it comes to, and Jesus lays it out for us, do I want to do what it costs in order for this benefit? Am I willing to do that? So that's why we are going to talk about, how do I follow Jesus? It may seem pretty simple, and it is, but it's hard. It is simple. It's not complicated, but it's going to be the hardest thing that you ever do in your life. And Jesus knew this, and so in Matthew chapter 16, we're in one verse. We're here this week and next week. We're just going to talk about the two things that it's going to cost us. Jesus lays it out. He's saying that this is what it costs to follow me. And he knows, hey, there are crowds that come, and they come and sit and listen to him, and he's the popular, and there's a lot of stuff that people see him do these miracles, and they see him do amazing things like, wow, and I want to be a part of that, and I want to follow him. And he says, great, if you want to follow me, this is what it costs. This is what you must do. All right? Matthew 16, verse 24. Then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. All right? He's explaining to his closest guys, right? To his guys who've they've gone where he's gone. They've been homeless with him. They've slept wherever they can. They get food from people who give them food. It's not like they're living this luxury lifestyle where they're in the best, finest, hotels. Jesus takes them to the spa and they get to drive Maseratis and stuff like that. They're living a rough life. They've been following him, doing the rough things, and he says to them, if someone wants to come after me, this is what they should do. And these guys are probably thinking, look, we've already done what it takes to follow you. We're following you. And he's raising this bar, and he's saying, this is what it costs. You must deny yourself and take up your cross. So we're going to break those things down. This week we're going to look at what does it mean to deny myself. And then next week we're going to look at what does it mean to take up my cross. But what does it mean to deny myself? If I want to follow Jesus, I must deny myself. He is very clear. He lays it out. There's no way we can get around that. So, according to Webster, apparently we just decided this guy knows everything because he wrote a dictionary, right? But to deny, all right, you say, I don't know that, right? Peter, denied, Jesus, I don't know him. But the word that they use here is even stronger than this, hey, I'm going to disassociate, right? It means to utterly separate, right? Not just hey, we're apart, but we're utterly separated. Completely disown, to run away from. It's very strong language. And so it's this idea of, I am going to utterly disown myself. How do you disown yourself? You are wherever you go, right? And I'm going to run away from myself. I don't know if you've ever tried that. People are going to think you're crazy. Don't do this in Walmart or anywhere, but you can probably get away with it in Walmart. But you can't run away from yourself. You can't disown yourself. But what he's saying is this, what am I denying? So yeah, I get that I have to have a huge separation of this, but I can't run away from myself. I can't just not be me anymore, or can I? Because when he says yourself, he's not saying, Lucas, run away from your physical body and never go back to it. You can't do that, okay? But what he's saying is yourself means your motives, your wants, your desires, your goals for your life, your aspirations. And really, you can put everything there under with this umbrella of anything that conflicts with Christ. Anything that's in your life, anything that's a part of what you want out of life, anything that you are going after in life, anything that is a dream of yours, and whatever is a part of your life that conflicts with Christ, you utterly run away from it, you disown it, it is gone. It's a big step. All right, to run away from your hopes and dreams for your life, to run away from what you want out of life. To say, I am utterly done with that. That if I want to follow Jesus, that's step one. That is absolute step one. I run away from what I want from life. Everything that I want in life that conflicts with Christ, it's gone. It is the worst possible, ugliest breakup that I'm never coming back from. There's no hey, we're going to keep things open in case we want to fix this. No, it's gone. Completely separated. And the question would be why, right? That's what ran through my head. It seems like a lot. Why does it have to be that? Right? Because what you want out of life, what I want out of life, is too small. That dream life that I have for myself, that dream life that you have for yourself, what you want out of the next 6 months in this school year, is too small. It's so focused on the here and the now and the things of this world, and Jesus is saying that doesn't fit with my plan for life. And so if you want to follow me, you got to get off that page and get on the page with me. You completely run away from your hopes and your wants and your desires because they conflict with what I want for your life. Because it really comes down to this. You will deny something. You will separate and disown something either yourself or like Christ. You are going to come to a point in life where, God, I either want my way or I'm going to go your way. And I'm going to make a choice to completely separate from one of those, because you can't have both. And Jesus is saying right up front, right before we jump in, before we get started, that I need to know right now, make that choice. Right? Peter thought he had, right? Peter's sitting there, and they're at they're in the upper room, the last supper, and Jesus is like, hey, one of you is going to deny me. And Peter's like, it's not going to be me. I'm a man's man. I'll never leave you. And Jesus is then it is going to be you. And then a little girl asks him if he knows him, and in that moment, he utterly disowns and separates himself. Why? Because he did not deny himself. He's worried about, they may kill me. They may come after me. This could cost me my life. And what I want out of life is different. You will deny something, and Jesus says up front, deny yourself or just deny me. Do not waste your time. Make that choice now in this moment. It's a big deal to follow him. Make that decision up front. Hebrews 12:1 also answers just the why of this. Again, it's harsh. Wouldn't he prefer I do the 7-day trial with him to see if I kind of like it? Maybe at least to get my feet wet in it. Why in the world do I have to make this decision now? And in Hebrews 12:1 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. He's saying that the path that I have for your life, that the goal and aim that I have for your life, you have to throw off everything that weighs you down. That's your wants, your needs, your desires, your plans for life. Anything that conflicts with me is weighing you down, and he calls it sin. All right? So that dream that you have of having that certain position and status or whatever that is that you're going after with your life that may not even necessarily be bad in your mind. He's saying if that gets in the way of me, that is sin, that it weighs you down and it keeps you from doing what you were created to do. So I need you right now to deny yourself, to throw all of that off so you can run the race I've put before you. Think about if you're in track and you show up for the 100-meter dash, and you got your 60-liter camping backpack on with your tent and your skillet because you're edgy and you want to cook out in the field. And you got your hiking boots on and you got your walking poles and you got everything that you think you're going to need. You're going to get smoked in that race by the Usain Bolt guy that's next to you. Because you're carrying stuff you don't need to carry. And that's what he's saying, that the wants and the needs and the desires of your life is just dead weight in your life if you want to follow me, and you have to get rid of it. You deny yourself in order to follow me. As we wrap up, right, what does that really mean for our life? So that's what God's word says. That's okay, I can understand these things. What are the things that we look at in our life? What does this mean that I should do Tuesday morning, Thursday afternoon, Saturday night? What does that look like in my life? 3 things. Number 1, if I'm going to apply this to my life, I cannot follow Jesus if I do not deny myself. It's well, we've already said that. Yeah, but think about what that really means. Self-denial comes before life following. Netflix is fantastic. They'll let you watch for 7 days free. So you make up enough email addresses, you can watch for free forever, right? But you've never committed, and you don't get to keep your cue and what you watch. It's a lot of work, right? Jesus is saying, you're not getting a trial run here. There's no hey, I'm going to get a introductory just a period to see if I really like this. He's saying, this is what it is. You make the choice right now. Are you in or are you out? And the beautiful thing about him is if you say, I'm out, next, second, you have that same choice. Every moment until the day you die, you have that same choice. But that thing is, am I going to waste my life and hope I get that choice at the last second? Maybe I don't understand what it means to follow him and the benefit of following him, right? He says, make that choice right now in this moment. It's You have to know it up front and say, I'm willing to pay the entire cost because the benefit of following you is worth it. So that's where it starts, right? Number 2, we replace self-enhancement with self-abandonment, right? I look at my life and I say, hey, I'm not looking to make myself better. I don't need to be the best version of myself, right? There's this vogue thing of like, man, I need to work on me. I need to improve me. And to a certain extent, that's true. Like, don't be a jerk, right? That's a good thing to aim for in life. I need to not be as much of a jerk to people. That's a good goal, right? But we can become obsessed with, okay, man, I need to be the best version of me. And Jesus says, no, you need to abandon yourself, or you need to run from who you were and run to me. What does that look like, right? Anyone here ever been an offender bender? Anyone know a friend that's been an offender bender? Okay, yeah, a lot of people know friends that are offender bender, okay? There's a difference between a fender bender and a totaled vehicle, okay? And we got a picture here for you, just in case you're unfamiliar. On the left, right? Yeah, thanks, Jade. Good use of laser, right? That is a fender bender. On the right, that thing's not moving again, okay? That is a totaled vehicle. And when you and I look at our lives, we really want to say, it's not that bad. We say, I got like a fender bender. I can get that bump popped out, that dent. I can fix that. Or, we got time for a story, don't we? Yeah, all right. This is like before I had kids. I am at Buckeyes with Jason Irvin. I don't know why I remember this, but so every good story starts with that, right? So we're like Buckeyes. My wife's grandma had died. Real sad, okay? Are you laughing at my wife's grandma dying? Let it be known that that was Josie Ray. No, it's Dakota, sorry, right? So she had died, and the funeral is up in Iowa. I am working, and it's like, I don't need to go up there now. Ashley, my wife, drives up with Eric Cole, her brother. They're driving up in what was my Mercury Sable. Pretty sweet leather interior. We bought it from my grandma when she moved into a retirement home. It was kind of a big deal, okay? And so they are driving up. It's like December. They're driving up. There's a little bit of snow. They're driving through like Hannibal, like north of Hannibal. They're getting up into Iowa in the middle of nowhere. Eric has just cranked up the Bruno Mars. I'll catch a grenade for you. He is driving, singing, and of course, if Eric's gonna be like singing, there's hand motions involved, right? And so Eric is driving up, and they get on a bridge, and I don't know if you've seen the signs, bridges ice first. They do, okay? And so I was not there. I got the phone call from my wife, who's like, don't kill my brother. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good, right? And she's like, we were driving, and we spun out on a bridge, and like, Ash, I don't know if you know her, but like, she tells stories kind of slower, and so I have this, anytime that she calls me, it's one of those like, what happened, right? And I'm like, my mind is going to the worst thing, like, did someone get trapped in the car? Did you go off the, like, and she goes, and we spun out, and we hit the side of the bridge, so we got a ding in the fender. Oh, that's it. Okay. I thought it was like, okay, I have to stay on this side of the car, otherwise we're going to tip off the bridge. Eric is hanging from the bumper. I'm thinking like, this is horrible. Like, so it's that. And so they get back, like, actually, no, they don't get back. I end up, because I drive up, because I'm doing this like funeral. So I like drive up, and Ashley kind of meets me outside, like trying to head this off. And she's like, here it is. I'm like, oh, it's really not that bad. It literally looks very like similar to that, except it got like rubbed through a little bit. So Eric's like, hey, man, I'll replace it, whatever. Okay. 3 years later, we finally get it replaced. Like, but it was like, it doesn't really affect anything, not a big deal. Like, for like $400, we got a new bumper, found a guy that had painted it for $17 or something, and it worked, right? But like, we look at our lives and like, okay, it's a ding, it's a fender bender, the car still runs. Yeah, I'm not like perfect, but it adds some character, right? And like, yeah, I'm just going to work on me. Maybe I'll put a bumper sticker over it, like to maybe hide it a little bit. Like, but these are things that I can live with. These are things that I can work on. And we look at the things in our life, the things that Jesus is saying, hey, this is weight that is holding you back. And we say, oh, it's not that bad. It's actually kind of nice and necessary. I kind of like it. And when we look at that, we say, well, I can fix this and I can improve upon this. But we have to look at our lives the way that Jesus looks at our life. And the way that he looks at our life is we're this. We got hit by a Mack truck and then hit by a train and then it backed back over us, right? Like, we are completely totaled, right? The sin in our life completely has made us a mess. There's no driving away from that. There's no like, oh, that'll buff out, right? Like, it is toast. And Jesus is saying that when you come to follow me, you're not going to say, I can fix me. I need to improve myself. You're going to say, I need to just drop it at the junkyard and walk away and let him start fresh. I need to abandon myself because myself is a train wreck and it's a mess. I need to get out of this mindset of I can fix me. I need to improve myself and say, Jesus, I've made a mess of my life. I'm going to drop that at the junkyard and let you take my life from here. But the rim is still good. It's a good rim. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you could probably sell that for at least $47, right? So, we replace self-enhancement with self-abandonment because there's no reason we should try to fix that. And once we realize that, we say, Jesus, my life is not worth hanging on to. My wants, my needs, my desires, my ambitions, why would I hang on to these things? I'm going to abandon them and follow you. I'm not going to drag a totaled car around behind me and say, I just don't know why this is not working. Jesus is saying, let it go. Deny that, move on, utterly separate from it and follow me. Why? Because we replace self-enhancement with self-abandonment. Number 3, the last one, right? We replace self-like discovery with Christ-like discovery. I just need to find out who I am. Again, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to know yourself. But when we become obsessed with ourself and finding out about ourselves, we forget that we're a train wreck. And we start getting back into the mentality of, yeah, I'm not so bad, that's fixable. If I know that my life is an absolute train wreck, why would I try to get to know it? I try to get to know the thing that matters, that works, that's fixed, that's good. What does that look like? Does anyone here know what a VCR is? Yeah. Just in case you don't, we have a picture. There's these tapes, okay? You put it in. We had things back in the 90s that were literally, it was a thing you plugged in just to rewind these, okay? Because if you return it to Blockbuster, which was a place where you'd go to rent these things, okay, they would charge you extra if they had to rewind it. They do not make VCRs anymore. You cannot buy a new one. That being said, if you have a VHS tape you want to watch, I have a VCR DVD combo in my basement. Why? Because the Lord is blessed, okay? Weird flex, but okay. All right. But, okay. Now, why are we looking at VCRs? We're talking about, hey, replace self-discovery with Christ discovery. You're going into college here soon. You're going into some sort of like career field. Whether you're, hey, I'm going to go to Rankin and become a diesel mechanic, or I'm going to go to like Mizzou and become a literary professor. Whatever you want to do with life, okay? You want a career, at least I hope, right? Don't be one of these people that goes and gets a degree in 17th century Lithuanian poetry or something that you can't use for anything, okay? I mean, if you love that, great, but get another degree too, okay? You want something that's going to matter. You would not show up, let's say, Maddie. What school do you want to go to? Just pick one. Harvard, okay. Maddie, wait, shoot for the stars, right? Maddie shows up to Harvard, and they say, Maddie, you've been accepted. You've had a stellar resume. We want you in our program. What a degree are you going to go for? And Maddie says, VCR repair, right? They're going to be like, Maddie, you're no longer accepted to Harvard, right? We have a great program for you that starts with star and ends with bucks. Go there, okay? No one goes to get a degree in VCR repair. Why? Because it's pointless. It doesn't do anything. Like it's dead. Well, he's now 8. My 8-year-old, we say, hey, buddy, what are you doing at school? I'm learning chess and coding. What? Coding? Like, yeah, I guess that will matter. Like, I should probably learn from him on that, right? Pick something that matters that's going to improve you, right? That's going to make your path easier, make it work. And so when we say, hey, that if I'm going to deny myself, I'm going to stop trying to discover myself. I'm not going to be a VCR repairman because that's dead and pointless. There's no point to, hey, my life is a train wreck. I'm not going to learn how to fix a completely totaled car. I'm going to trade it in, it's gone, and learn what's going to matter. So I stop trying to learn about myself and discover who I am, and I say, I have denied myself. I am dead to myself, so I'm going to start to discover who Christ is. I'm going to learn about him. That will help me. That makes sense. That will help me know who I should be and what I need to do with my life. Finding out about myself is pointless unless I'm worshiping myself. And that's really what it comes down to. We will long to know more about and learn about what we worship. And Jesus is saying that if you want to follow me, you have to stop worshiping yourself and start discovering me and become obsessed with learning about me. My eight-year-old had library day yesterday. And when I went to the library, I always come back with those cross-section books. This is the Titanic, if you cut it in half. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm looking through his backpack, and I pull out a geology textbook that he checked out from the library. I mean, it's that thick, it's huge. And I leave it there, and he's brushing his teeth. I'm like, hey, buddy, what'd you get from the library? It's a geology book, and it tells you about volcanoes and how they work. And touché, sir. You're going to know stuff that is valuable to your life. Here I was reading the Berenstain Bears, but okay, right? But yeah, I mean, great life lessons. Side note on that, but the dad in those books was an absolute buffoon. But anyway, right? So, right? But we want to become obsessed with stuff that's going to matter. We want to pour our life into discovering things that are going to matter. I could probably find a website on how to repair the VCRs. But then I'd have to spend a lot of time finding someone who has a VCR. But I could pour my life into discovering something that is going to make my life useful and have purpose. And Jesus says, that's me. Right? Discover me. Learn more about me. That's part of that walk in my footsteps. Or if you're following me and living the life that I'm doing, you're obsessed with following me. You're not just thinking about, well, Jesus, I just want to learn to express myself. And Jesus is like, yourself is dead. You have chosen to utterly separate from that and now get to know me. So what does it take to follow him? Completely, utterly end your dreams and hopes for your life and embrace what he has for you. That's the starting line. Following Jesus is the absolute hardest thing you ever do with your life. But at the same time, it's the most rewarding thing that you could ever possibly do. Why? Because you're living out the life you were created for. Before you were even born, there was a purpose for your life. God knew you'd be in this room, and he knows where you'll be 25 years from now and exactly what you're doing with your life and his plan that he has for your life. And he's inviting you to leave the wrecked junk life that you have created for yourself and embrace the life and purpose that he has for you that is guaranteed life fulfillment. Not guaranteed the perfection, but guaranteed life fulfillment, that you will feel fulfilled in your life, that it will have meaning and it will matter and it will be for the glory of God. It's worth the cost. But don't let anyone tell you there's no cost. And it cost him a heck of a lot more than it will cost you. And so the question that we're going to leave you with this evening, are you willing to deny yourself? Jesus and you cannot coexist. It's either all him or it's none of him. That's the choice that you have. If you have questions about what that means, grab one of the adults here. We're not going to try to talk you into something. In fact, something this big in your life, it should not be a snap decision. It shouldn't be just, yeah, sure, I guess I'll try it. No. He's asking up front, will you completely end every hope, dream, and goal you have for your life and embrace the life that I have for you? It's scary, right? Because the dreams you have for your life, they're your dreams. That's what you want. But he's saying, trust me that I love you, that I died for you, and I want to give you something so much better. What are you going to do when it comes to who will you deny, yourself or him?